Britain has entered a moment where things that were once whispered behind closed doors are now being spoken out loud. For years, uncomfortable truths about the monarchy, the media, and internal royal dynamics were carefully softened, deflected, or avoided altogether. But something has shifted. The public mood has changed. People are no longer satisfied with vague reassurances or carefully choreographed appearances. They are watching actions, not statements, and drawing their own conclusions. At the centre of this shift stands Prince Harry, not because he seeks attention, but because attention follows him whether he wants it or not. His recent return to the United Kingdom made that reality impossible to ignore. And what it revealed had very little to do with formal titles or hierarchy, and everything to do with presence, confidence, and authenticity. It is important to clear up one persistent misunderstanding right away. Prince Harry did not return to the UK to see his brother. There was no secret meeting planned, no attempted reconciliation, no emotional showdown waiting behind palace walls. His visit was strictly professional and legal. He came to attend court proceedings related to his long-running cases against elements of the British press cases he has pursued with consistency, discipline, and resolve. And yet, despite the absence of any personal agenda involving Prince William, the reaction from the heir to the throne was telling. Reports indicate that William chose to remove himself entirely from the situation, leaving London and retreating to Scotland while Harry was in the country. Not because a meeting was imminent, not because conflict was unavoidable, but simply because proximity alone appeared uncomfortable. That decision did not go unnoticed. For many observers, it raised more questions than it answered. Why would a future king feel the need to physically leave the area when his brother's visit had nothing to do with him? Why avoid even the possibility of crossing paths with someone who holds no constitutional power, no official royal role, and no claim on the throne? The answer, many believe, lies not in rivalry, but in insecurity. While Prince Harry walked into courtrooms, faced judges, evidence, and public scrutiny, Prince William chose distance. Harry stood in full view of the press, calm and composed, focused not on spectacle, but on principle. His demeanour was measured, his tone controlled. There was no grandstanding, no emotional theatrics, no attempts to provoke reaction. He simply showed up and did the work. That in itself was powerful. Over the years, Prince Harry has learned how to exist without the protective bubble of palace machinery. He no longer has teams smoothing headlines, redirecting narratives, or shielding him from difficult questions. Every step he takes is judged on its own merit. Every word he speaks carries consequences. And rather than weaken him, that exposure has strengthened him. There is a quiet confidence that comes from living without a safety net. And it is that confidence earned, not inherited, that many believe is deeply unsettling to those who have never had to operate without institutional protection. Prince William, by contrast, has been shaped from birth to fit seamlessly into an institution that prioritizes control, caution, and continuity. Stability is achieved through silence. Risk is managed through avoidance. Emotion is carefully rationed. And while that system preserves tradition, it does not always cultivate resilience. When moments arise that call for emotional leadership rather than ceremonial presence, retreat can become a habit. And habits, over time, become reputations. The contrast between the two brothers has never been clearer. Harry represents lived experience, military service, grief, exile, public vilification, and the cost of speaking uncomfortable truths. William represents continuity, an unbroken path shaped by protocol, protection, and expectation. Neither path is inherently wrong, but only one of them has required adaptation, courage, and personal reckoning. Star power is often misunderstood. It is not about popularity polls or glowing headlines. It is not about approval ratings or curated photo opportunities. True star power is about presence. It is about the ability to command attention without demanding it. And Prince Harry has that presence in abundance. Even stripped of royal duties, even operating outside the formal structure of the monarchy, his relevance has not diminished. If anything, it has grown. Because relevance rooted in authenticity does not depend on institutions to survive. This is where the discomfort begins. The monarchy relies on hierarchy. It relies on the idea that status flows downward from the crown. But Harry disrupts that logic. His influence exists independently of the throne. His credibility has been earned through action, not conferred by title. And that independence challenges a system built on deference. William may inherit the crown, but Harry has earned public trust in a different way. Many Brits watching these events unfold have been increasingly frank in their assessments. They are asking difficult questions, questions that once felt taboo. Why does the future monarch appear rattled by the presence of a brother who holds no formal power? Why does avoidance seem to replace composure? Why does distance appear safer than confidence? The answers, many suggest, lie in authenticity. Harry connects with people because his experiences resonate. His words carry weight because they are grounded in consequence, not courtesy. He speaks as someone who has paid a price for honesty and survived it. William, by contrast, remains insulated from that kind of risk. And while that insulation preserves image, it also limits growth. When leadership is never tested under pressure, it remains theoretical. Harry's legal battle against the press was once framed as rebellious, emotional, or even vindictive. Today, that narrative has shifted. Increasingly, it is seen as principled. He is challenging an entrenched media culture that has harmed not only him, but countless others. And in doing so, he has positioned himself as a figure of accountability in a system that rarely holds itself responsible. That courage has redefined him. He is no longer viewed merely as the spare. He is seen as a man willing to confront power, demand transparency, and stand firm even when it costs him comfort and belonging. That kind of resolve resonates deeply in a society increasingly skeptical of unearned authority. And relevance in the modern world is power. The fact that Prince William chose to leave town, even when Harry's visit had nothing to do with him, has only intensified public scrutiny. It suggests unease rather than authority, avoidance rather than assurance. And, for someone destined to wear the crown, that perception matters. A future king should be able to stand confidently in his role regardless of who else happens to be in the country. Harry, meanwhile, continues to show up. He faces courts, he faces criticism, he faces history, and he does so without the institutional armour that once defined his life. That steadiness, forged outside royal protection, has made him formidable in ways the palace never anticipated. Brits are no longer hesitant to acknowledge it. They see the contrast, they see the imbalance, and they are increasingly willing to say out loud what once felt unsayable. Prince Harry's star power is not about rivalry. It is about reality. Even when he is simply minding his own business, pursuing justice on his own terms, his presence alone is enough to shift the atmosphere, enough to cause discomfort, enough to prompt retreat. And that more than any headline, briefing or palace statement speaks volumes. And so, as the noise fades and the headlines move on, one truth remains impossible to ignore. Power does not always announce itself with ceremony, and leadership does not always come wrapped in tradition. Sometimes it reveals itself quietly in who shows up, who stands firm, and who refuses to disappear simply because it would be more convenient. Prince Harry did not come to Britain seeking attention, confrontation, or validation. He came to pursue justice. He came to face systems that many fear to challenge. And he did so without demanding recognition, without leaning on privilege, and without asking anyone to move aside for him. Yet even in that silence, even in that restraint, his presence spoke volumes. This moment was never really about two brothers or personal drama. It was about contrast, about the difference between inherited authority and earned credibility, about what it means to lead in a world that values authenticity over image and courage over comfort. History has a way of revealing character not through titles, but through choices, through who stands their ground when it would be easier to retreat, through who faces scrutiny rather than avoiding it, and through who understands that accountability is not a threat, but a responsibility. Whether one wears a crown or not, the public sees, and increasingly they remember. Because relevance is not granted, it is earned, and true presence cannot be escaped. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, and these conversations matter too. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking the questions that really count.